Hello and welcome to Pod Mavericks Presents Group Therapy. I am Kirk Henderson, editor-in-chief of MavsMoneyball.com. I believe I just spent some time with some of you in our the first kind of one-off show I've ran in a while. It was an episode of Kirk Your Enthusiasm with Logan Thompson, one of our draft aficionados of MavsMoneyball.com. If you have not heard that yet, you are welcome to check your podcast stream or check the video page as it is going live. Now, this is our group therapy, which I've been running every Friday afternoon for a couple of weeks now, trying to bring in some of our European guests who don't often get to stay up as late during the regular season. We're still kind of in the weird dead zone, but, I figure we might talk for a half hour if anybody has some Mavs comments and things they'd like to talk about. I know I, for one, would like to really enjoy the fact that the Denver Nuggets just beat the Phoenix Suns and the Suns went out sad again. I enjoy that level of schadenfreude because they were really rude and I don't like them. I see we already have one guest. We got a couple more waiting, so I'm just going to not waste any time and bring folks up on stage. I might only have about a half hour today, folks, but we'll see what's going on. First, I'm going to bring up Chris, who looks like he's driving because that's not safe. Chris, what's up, man?
Hey, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. I was just gonna say what's up. I just forgot to put the notifications on the last couple live podcasts. So, we got Tuesday coming up for the draft lottery and all. So,
I'm pretty excited about that. Are you?
Yeah. Me too. 80% chance of keeping it. So
we're gonna have a live show.
Crossed. Yeah, I'm gonna be in that.
So we can suffer together.
Now I'm optimistic. I think we're going to at least keep the pick. I had this feeling we're going to get Wemby for some reason. And maybe that's just being super optimistic. But the fact that we've never moved up in the draft, I don't know. It's kind of crazy. But it was funny last night how the Suns got their ass kicked by the Nuggets, almost exactly how the Mavs beat them last year. So
at least they scored more than 27 points in the first half. So they're making progress in games where they get embarrassed.
Yeah. What do you think the odds are? This just has a DeAndre Ayton gets traded to the Mavs just written all over it. I don't know. It just seems like they're like the Mavs like the only team, especially because we need rim protection.
Well, either him and then Tim McMahon wrote that Chris Paul is probably going to be very available. The fact that Chris Paul's available doesn't worry me because I think Chris Paul would kind of bring a sense of professionalism to Luka. Oop. My man exited out, but that's all right. We'll invite him back in here if he has time. But yeah, the Suns' whole situation is just like when you go out sad 2 years in a row and you have new ownership and you've traded everything under the sun for Kevin friggin' Durant, who really got bodied up pretty hard by Aaron Gordon. I was kind of surprised by that. I mean, I love KD, at least KD's game, and he did not play very well in that series. Obviously, he's been dealing with weird injuries all year, so it's not like he got a great feel for what was going on in that game. I see my man Brian waiting out down there, so we're gonna bring Brian up. Brian, what's up, my guy?
Hey, how's it going? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Welcome.
Dude, Tuesday, you excited?
I am excited. It's early enough in the evening, though. The fact that they make like a 5-minute presentation into a half-hour show just really it hurts because it's just like you're sitting there being like, okay, we know who all these people are. We don't need to pan our camera over each one as they smile awkwardly.
Not fun. Yeah, I see Penny Hardaway. I recognize his face. That's Penny Hardaway. I know.
Right. We know that's Nico. Boo.
Yeah.
What about you? What are you thinking?
I think I'm actually kind of optimistic. Not just that obviously we have an 80% chance of keeping the pick. I think we're going to keep the pick. I think that's pretty safe. I'm actually pretty optimistic that we move into the top 4. Obviously not 1. We're never going to be that fortunate. I think we're going to end up at like 3 or 4. Like,
I mean, a 14% chance overall. Like, yeah, it's not outside the realm.
Yeah, and what's funny is I think that's the way really that we get this thing back on the rails and we fix things. We trade down from that pick, get either 2 young guys in this draft, Hendricks and somebody else, maybe Lively, I don't know, that could really help. Or
if Luka were at a different point in his career, I think they might do that. But I just like trading for more assets is just the most anti-Maverick thing. It's not that I think they shouldn't do it. I agree with the intent. I just don't think they would do it.
Yeah. So like even something like trading back for, like I said, like for Hendricks, but plus something else, plus another player, or I guess like a future pick would be the same thing. You think if they get 3 or 4, they're moving it for a player, right?
I don't know. I wouldn't. I think that you just.
I would not.
You know, I threw out the thing yesterday on Twitter to where if like they were to get 2, would they move? Would they just seriously try to leverage Houston into the sun? Like go get Tari Eason and like the 5th pick or whatever they end up with and see what they could do there. That's what I would do. But Luka is like all other NBA players in that they don't care about potential guys. They care about guys who can help them win right now. And I know you were listening to the show I just did with Logan, and Logan's right. Rookies don't affect winning. And that's just, it's something we have to reconcile.
Yeah, I hear that. And honestly, I agree. I think there are a couple of players that are going to be in this top 10-ish of the draft that are going to be exceptions. I think Casey Wallace is going to be like a positive player immediately wherever he goes. He's going to positively affect winning on both ends, just because he's so good off the ball. He can run pick and roll pretty easily. He's not like a bursty kind of one-on-one ISO offensive scorer when he leaves out the way that like Maxey, Buck, Quickly, like those guys were. But I think he's going to do enough on offense that the fact that he is the best defensive player in this draft, not named Victor Wembanyama, is going to pretty easily shine through no matter where he is.
Right. The Case and Wallace thing is fun in the fact of that would be 2 players in a 5-year span that would come from within about 15 miles of one another that are in the Dallas area that the Mavericks wouldn't get. Because like watching Maxey score a bajillion points for the Sixers the other night pained me. Granted, I didn't even think like Maxey was not a guy even considered back in 2020 because we have a billion guards, but it still sucks. It's like when a guy plays in your backyard and you don't get him.
No, that year it was Bane, and he was at TCU.
Bane was different though because it's like Bane and Lou. Like 2020 was a different deal overall, but it's like when you had because you could argue you could play Bane kind of in a different position, but I don't know. It just seems like all the guys that we're interested in are like these guards, and we have guards. With the 4 best Mavericks players or assets, however you want to consider it, are guards
for sure.
So, what else are we thinking?
I'm just excited to see how the draft lottery turns out. I'm excited to not trade for Chris Paul. I can't wait to not do that. I
have bad news for you. I really,
Kirk,
Chris Paul's more likely than anybody else.
Listen, man. So
Chris Paul and the 14-year-old he like assaulted can hug it out, and we can have a big ceremony, and it'll be good.
Man, so I saw like that his contract is $30 million this upcoming year, but that's partially guaranteed. I think June 28th it becomes fully guaranteed.
Yeah,
if he isn't wait. Yeah, and then the last year is like not guaranteed at all, so we could just be done with him if need be. And obviously, there's a Aiden thing that's been looming, and that's been like rumored for a year or so now, and it's starting to pick back up, and there's starting to be more smoke about that.
Oh, he's gonna go somewhere. I just don't know where it would be.
Yeah, the same. I've been railing against Aiden being traded here all day, especially if it's like Kyrie sign and trade, which I still don't see the point of. If you've already got Devin Booker and Kevin, I just don't see.
Other than the fact that like these guys like one another, like that would be the reason that you do it.
Maybe, but even then, I would just take the cap space and ride into the sun. Me personally, but getting Aiden back wouldn't be the worst possible thing.
I mean, I can't handle him personally, but he's better than every other big we have. Like, that's the hard, it's like he might piss you off, but he's still better than everyone else we have.
Yeah, like I could lie to myself enough, I guess, to make it okay, and then you go into free agency and do what you can, try and find some minimum guys to fill gaps and around them. Chris Paul, I hear what you say earlier about him being able to bring a sense of professionalism to Luka, and
right. You just count on the fact that he's not available for the playoffs.
Well, that and for half of the season, but
yeah,
honestly, it's not even about his play. I'm not even concerned about that. I'm assuming this would be like Kyrie for Chris, or oh my god, no. It would. I think Kyrie for Aiden, I could stomach, but for Chris Paul, y'all got to take Bertans, y'all got to take JaVale. Because it's not even just. It's because it can't just be Chris by himself. It would have to be Chris and picks, and they don't have any picks. All they have is seconds.
Right.
So I'm sorry. This isn't a trade deadline. 5 seconds ain't gonna get it done.
I hear you. Well, Brian, thanks for joining the show again.
Of course, bro. Thanks for having me up.
All right. Talk soon.
Yes, sir.
All right. We got a number of people waiting. Next, we're going to go to my buddy Josh, who I did not see at Orange Theory today. Lazy bum. Now, what's going on?
Hey, happy birthday, man. How you doing?
Thank you kindly. I'm doing fine.
Good to hear. No, we can't get Aiden, man. We can't spend max money on centers unless they're Jokic. We know this, right? We've learned our lesson.
It's so painful because when Ayton plays well, it's like, oh yeah, because he moves in space, like he guards in space, like you need a big man to do, like Jokic can't do, for example, but he just doesn't do it. It's like Kevin O'Connor keeps telling the same story where he's like, this guy wanted his main goal was to get his second contract and life-changing money, and he got it, and now he doesn't really give a shit. And I sort of think that's the case.
Yeah, no, for sure.
That said, I feel like we're gonna get someone we all hate.
Yeah, I mean the options are all bad. When you're arguing between Ayton, Dylan Brooks, or like Jay Crowder, like those are your options. Like it's kind of you're at the shit buffet, so pick your poop sandwich.
Pretty much.
So have you thought? So I just went on Tankathon. I hit Sim Lottery one time.
Yep.
The Oklahoma City Thunder jumped 11 spots, which means we lose our pick. Have you contemplated this scenario?
I have. And we've not really talked about it a ton because I have a reasonably, acquired reputation of being a doom and gloom guy on a regular basis. So it's like projecting that forward. That's why we're going to do the live show on Tuesday. So like that if the Mavericks were to fall, everyone can see me freak the fuck out in real time.
Do you think that would affect Kyrie's decision one way or the other?
Oh, I mean, at that, like I've mentioned this, and it's worth just saying again. If the Mavericks lose this pick, we go from a slow motion car crash, which we're already in, to that speeds up the disaster in a hurry. The flip side of the argument, which I heard the other day, which I really actually like, is the next contract for these guys, meaning the one Luka could sign after this, is going to be so much fucking money that there's not really anything out. It's like he would need to leave like $120+ million on the table. Like the max extension for Tatum and Brown are going to be north of $300 million.
Yeah.
Are guys going to do that? I don't know. I mean, it's the new CBA, which it'll take us years to really suss out the challenges, but that I think is going to affect a fair amount of team building. But right now, my feeling is that if they lose this pick, it causes a cascade of disasters. So they just don't have anything else.
So you do think that Kyrie's decision could be affected by the Mavs losing the pick? Like you don't see a scenario, or you think it's more likely that he would decline an extension with us if we lose the pick?
No, I think I think he's going to go where the best money is offered, and I still think that's the Mavericks. But if you lose out on the pick and then you are it only makes the re-signing of Kyrie that much more important. Yeah. And to have that much on Kyrie Irving, we just know the history. He might be great for 35 to 40 games, but he might get injured. He might go AWOL. There's just too long of a track record, and Dallas doesn't have enough good players to backfill.
No, I just looked it up. Our payroll currently right now without Kyrie is $108 million. That's insane. So our option, we're just basically gonna have the taxpayer MLE if we get Kyrie, which I think is only with 12 million.
I don't even know if we get that this year because we got it last year.
Yeah, it depends. Yeah, it depends on the new CBA too. It depends
Yeah,
it depends which apron we're at and how that affects. But,
I've been teasing our buddy Scott, CBA Mavs, and I'm like, hey, like write the misconceptions or whatever, and he's gonna do it. But it's just I always tease him because he is a perfectionist, so he doesn't want to write until he fully knows.
I've been a worm in his ear the last couple of weeks, being like, so we will have the MLE, right? He's like, probably. His best answer is probably.
Right.
Right. But yeah, so I guess on a good note, how happy are Mavs fans watching Devin Booker get clapped out of the
That's great. It was great. Someone called that my birthday present, and it might as well have been, because the thing, I wasn't anti-Suns until the stupid DNVR. I'm sorry, PH. Whatever, the Phoenix, PHNX, like with the All Cities network, they just randomly, after they win their first round series, tweeted out a picture of Luka and Booker. And it's like, you just won a first round series. Why are you talking shit about a team that wasn't in it? Like, I'm all about making fun of the Mavericks. Like the picture, friend of the show, Dalton Trigg, posted last night of Luka and him wearing, like hats like they're in Cancun together was killing me. Like, yeah, we all suck now. Like that's the part that I enjoy. But man, the jokes were just flying fast.
Well,
like, I just saw some bangers last night.
Yeah, no, I'm glad KD and Booker were getting some of that slander. Listen to Bill Simmons defend KD today, which is infuriating, but I know he was only in the minority. So
I like the way I've liked KD since he was at Texas, and I understand the 2016 thing will probably be the final straw for most people forever, but I have a soft spot for him, and I don't know why. Because a lot of guys,
he skates more than any superstar I've ever seen.
Yeah, but he's also out there and he takes bullets and he talks to people like him harassing Matt Moore about who wants to be looking at a graph while having a hoop conversation is still one of the funniest things that's happened on Twitter.
Yeah, who hasn't harassed Matt Moore? That makes him more down to earth. All right, I'll stop talking there on that note.
Thanks for hanging out, buddy. Talk soon.
Appreciate you. Later, guys.
Later. All right, we got Krishna, then David, then Chris. Krishna, what's up, man?
Kirk, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for hanging out. What's up?
Happy birthday, of course.
Thank you.
It's good. Hopefully the weather gets better. It's looking okay, but
like I went to school here for high school and such. So it's like I was always on summer break whenever my high school, whenever my birthday happens. Like nobody cared. So it's like I'm 39 now, and like I'm just kind of I had that mentality forever. I'm like nobody cares. Like my wife is really into it. She wants to do stuff, and I'm just like,
Yeah, same. Like I've grown up here, so it's like my birthday's in the fall, so it's like the opposite. Because as I got older, the weather got crazier during my birthdays, so it was like I'm not gonna do anything. It's interesting. You just brought up the Phoenix stuff. I guess I'll talk about that. I think it's just so hilarious. Honestly, like nothing has changed for them. Like they're the exact same team that they were last year, except in a way, I feel like I brought it up when the KD trade happened. Like it was boom or bust, because ultimately they did the same thing that the Warriors, kind of what the Warriors did, or kind of what the Nets did, where like you gave up so much that ultimately you have to rely on these four guys. But unlike the 2018 Warriors, where your four guys were an MVP caliber player, a guy who can score 60 off of 11 dribbles, and an all defensive player plus an elite passer, and then one of the best, shooters in the game in terms of like getting his own shot. And instead you have Devin Booker, who like Devin Booker is good. Like he's all NBA talent, but he's just not elite in the same way Steph ever is or was. And Chris Paul has been deteriorating since last year. Ayton just doesn't ever prove himself to be a great center. He's fine. He's like more than manageable, but he's not great. And KD since I think it's 21 when they played Milwaukee, he has not been great in the playoffs. And like, I think part of it is, Boston last year, but he's just been breaking down a lot more. And he's
an older guy.
He, first of all, like the fact that he came back from an Achilles, it was like 2 years ago at this point, and was that good is still impressive. But he's like 34 now, I think.
He'll be 35 in September. So like that, it feels contextually unfair to beat the shit out of him. And it's just like, not everybody is going to be LeBron.
Sure. I get that. I think part of it is just like LeBron has never had a devastating injury like that. And I think a lot of that is luck, but I think KD is just also his build and like the way he plays. And ultimately, I don't know what the Suns are going to do. They have no picks. They have Paul on a horrific contract, and they have Ayton, who probably doesn't want to be there. And, there's always questions of Monty Williams, and now you have a new ownership. Like, who knows what's going to happen? But it's funny. It's so funny. Like, this is hilariously ironic, though. I can't say the Mavericks are any better, but it's just funny to laugh at. In terms of the draft stuff, it's interesting. I was listening to you guys talk. I personally, like I mentioned in the chat, like my opinion is I want the Mavs to trade back and get 2 picks in this draft, or at least a pick here and then like a future first. I know that's not going to happen because the Mavs are just kind of diluted in this sense. Like, really, as Mark Cuban is like diluted in this idea that they're going to somehow get someone worthy of anything. And I think you mentioned it earlier, and I feel like you've mentioned it on a few pods, like this idea of whoever you get, like whatever prospect, and no prospect you get is really a significant contributor in their first year. Like that's the exception more than the rule. And I get that. Like Luka is obviously going to want players who contribute right now. And I think part of the reason I don't think the Mavs will ever do that is they just have this inability to tell Luka like or say do things even if they think Luka is going to be angry.
Yeah.
Right? Like they
feels
have
like that at least.
It feels like that. Maybe they are, but like I just don't think they ever will. And I think part of it is just I think it was like almost a month ago at this point on 77 Minutes, they were talking about like we often compare Luka to Dirk just because they're the stars of they're the biggest stars we've had in Dallas Mavericks history. But Dirk is more comparable to someone like Giannis in the sense that like when Dirk came to America, like he didn't really know English. It was completely new to him, foreign. Like he wasn't really prepared to play in the NBA, kind of similar to Giannis in that sense. And so they both kind of have a gratitude to Dallas in the sense like that's where they grew up. Like it was like a second version of growing up. And it's not that I don't think Luka is grateful to be in Dallas or playing the NBA, but Luka had exposure to America, to the NBA, to all these things. I just don't think. I think like this idea that you have to coddle him though is an extreme.
I think it's borderline disrespectful at a certain point too.
Yeah. I think so. I mean, look at what other teams have done, right? Like if you look at the Pelicans, like they just like, I get Zion, like the whole thing, like the health, but they haven't coddled the dude. Like,
well, and if you lose him because he doesn't want to play basketball or something like that, then you deal with that.
Yeah. I mean,
like you can't force a person to do anything is what it comes down to. Like, exactly. I have faith in Luka's competitive fire that a lot of these things will eventually fix themselves. And if they don't, then that's on him.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what you rather have is you die by your own sword.
Yeah.
Than you let anything else hurt you. And I think, I always think this, the smartest people don't learn from other people's mistakes. They don't learn from their own mistakes. They learn from others. And that's a really difficult thing to do. But the Mavericks have not even been able to, I should say specifically Mark has not even been able to learn from the mistakes they've made. It's felt like, and you've talked about it so much, that they've just ignored everything because they've had one success and they've looked at it as, we've succeeded at one time. So, we should be able to do it again. And I don't know where it goes, but it's interesting. And, we'll see. Like, and I think to me, the biggest warning about trading draft picks and trading young talent to me is the Clippers. Like, they thought they were getting something guaranteed, get Paul George, you get Kawhi. And like, I think ultimately they do that trade again, but that is going to be one of the worst trades in NBA history. When you look back on it, you gave up an MVP caliber player in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for Paul George, who's a fine player. Like, I don't mean to discredit Paul George. Like, he's a great player. He's still a really good player, but I mean, that is going to be a bad trade, and those picks on top of it. And so ultimately, I don't think the Mavericks, they don't have the assets to make a trade like that. But when you're thinking about this draft, that is potentially what you're doing, is you're trading guys who could be, I don't think that MVP caliber, but could be really great players in a few years. And that's where I have worries and concerns. So we'll see. It'll be interesting. I don't really know. For me, it's just a waiting game. Like all the reports and all the stuff, it's like, you've talked about it before, like Mavs Moneyball is not a reporting site. And it's not that I don't believe the reports. I'm just apprehensive. Like,
sure.
I'm just more waiting. Like, I remember last season, like not to call out Jake Fisher, but he reported like, hey, Jalen Brunson's likely resigning, and then like a week later it was like,
he talked about that later. He got worked by a source who's probably burned for life for him. Like,
and listen, that's the game he plays. Like, that's to his credit. Sometimes he hits, sometimes you don't. And
I mean, he was certainly right. The Mavericks were getting ready. We're getting ready to send off Porzingis. Like, I remember Chuck Cooperstein got super pissed about that.
And I think it's interesting. Like, that's what that game is, right? Like, it happens, I think, a lot more in soccer, where like there's a lot more like front edge reporting, I feel like, than basketball recently. But ultimately, like, I'm not going to sit here and like see all these reports and say, oh, this is definitively happening, and like I have my feelings on it, but unless something happens, I'm not going to get overworked about it. Like, to me, my main focus is just let's see how the lottery goes, and then you move from there. And I think it's interesting. There's been mentions like the apron is really going to change things, I think, for a lot of teams. I think the Celtics are going to be a team that the apron changes for them, the Warriors and other teams. So it's like you said so much. This is a do or die situation right now. And we'll see how it goes and see how it plays. I don't know. Excited to see how the rest of the playoffs go, the NHL playoffs. And hopefully the rest of your birthday is great and everyone has a good time.
Thanks, buddy. We'll talk soon then, man. All right?
Yeah, take care.
All right. Coming up next then is my man David, who's waiting. David, thanks so much for waiting and welcome to the show. What's up?
Hey, Kirk. It's good to call back in again. I've been trying to get this whole YouTube thing figured out on my end. So finally.
It's a real bear. I have some friends that are like, some of the people that report to me in my real job are like 27 to 29. And they're like, well, we're just on YouTube all day. And I'm like, how? I can't look at this. I have to work. And they're like, well, we have it there and then we're working. I'm like, I cannot do that. So,
yeah,
but people seem to like this.
Calls. I saw this at 3:00 and I'm like, I have a 3:00 standing meeting every day. And I was like, thank God it ended early. I'm jumping in.
Well, when we go back to regular season, when there's games again, Josh and I, we do these live now. We'll do them live after games and it'll just be him and I. And then I'll do one of these, probably 20 minutes after that ends. We'll just do this like we were doing the ones that were on Spotify Live. But I got wind about 3 months before Spotify Live announced that they were closing. And I'm like, fuck, I have to do something new. This is terrible. So...
Well, it's good to join. Good to see you in person. Just excited for the draft. Hopefully, I can join on Tuesday night. There's a part of me that also doesn't even want to watch.
That's right. I was hoping that my kid would have like a baseball game or something, and I would come back to it. But then I'm like derelict in charge of like the things I have to do for the site. So.
Yeah, especially since we don't know, it could go anyway. Like, we could draft a player, we could lose the pick entirely.
I want to set my expectations of, can we please keep the pick? Just because I want to have stuff to talk about. Anything after that, I'm kind of going to see as I'll adjust my expectations and demand the moon. But in the short term, I just want to have something to talk about.
Yeah, that's. I mean, yes, I agree, because I think the. I bought back into my season ticket package last year, and I had to make a decision in March to go back in with my friend that we split it with. And the whole reason I got them was so I could get playoff tickets. F me, right?
Sure. Yeah. No, and I hear their season ticket people were kind of like, they have like a waiting list. So they're fairly aggressive in their sell points because they can be, because they're the supply the demand outpaces the supply. That stuff is brutal.
So of course, Luka, we made the conference finals last year. We got Luka, of course we're making the playoffs this year. So, going into this, it's just like, I will be screaming. And if I end up moving my seats back to the nosebleeds, just because I don't want to pay Mark Cuban any more money to be a fucking idiot anymore, I will be screaming, sell the team. Like, I will do my best to get excommunicated from there if we lose the pick and also don't sign any free agents. And then that comes to no matter if we do keep the pick, there's a part of me that's okay with letting Kyrie walk, weirdly, because I don't want, if we re-sign him, at least we have the asset, and maybe he's got to be tradable to somebody else. I mean, the NBA is full of stupid owners and stupid GMs that constantly make mistakes. That Lakers trade was just another fleecing in my mind for the end of the year. So somebody's got to want him, right? But at the same time, I'm like, but we're inept. We're the stupid GM team. So I don't know that we do we just piss away the 2029 pick and two actual rotation players for just cap space at this point? And there's a part of me, I keep looking at like the free agents. I'm on the 2023 free agent tracker right now. Funny thing I didn't even notice before, Theo Pinson listed as fringe in his tier, which made me laugh. But, you know, like Jacob Podol, I keep looking at him as like, you know, we need a big and we need a wing. And I'm like, Kelly Oubre Jr., like, I pray that we could get some people with that like sort of talent level. Like I would rather overpay for those types of guys that at least have their head on straight and show up to work every day than pay $50 million a year to freaking Kyrie Irving.
Right. Well, and then I mentioned this. I think I did it earlier. Like the salaries for these top tier guys are to be very Texan are fixing to get so damn out of control that I don't think you can trade, because with in season trade rules, you have to be within a certain percentage in terms of like salaries matched, and we're getting to the point where it's like a guy like Jaylen Brown and a guy like Jason Tatum and Luka Doncic are almost like your Patrick Mahomes and your top tier quarterback, where you can't trade because you can't, you have to have players on your team. If you have to come within 10% of salary, on a yearly basis, where are you getting $62 million of salary to send back? Like that, I really think that this next CBA and this is early conjecture, just might sort of really dampen the superstar trade market because there's a big Don Draper sign. Like that's what the money is for to any of these fuckers that want to be traded after they, took $1 billion to play on a bad team. Like that's just sort of the nature of it.
Yeah. Well, and Luka, I think you maybe have talked about this. I've been spotty at checking in the last few weeks, but he has a 10 or 15% trade kicker, I think, incled.
Luka, I think I
saw it on
purpose.
One of the sites had listed listed a little thing underneath in the annotations. It's like trade kicker, and Luka Doncic had like a 10 or 15% trade kicker. I'm like, so
Reddit says yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So,
could you imagine a 15% trade kicker on somebody who's projected to make, what is it? It's like 47 million in the last year. So that's like an additional $8 million.
Yeah. It's like the idea that Luka can I think it is sure he can demand out, but you will have to absolutely totally fucking gut your
15%. I have never seen a 15%
know,
trade
right?
kicker.
When I saw that, I was like, it blew me away. And so I'm not, Luka might pout, Luka might cry. I don't think he's going to leave anytime soon, because while there are teams out there that will absolutely trade the moon to get his level of talent, and but they will be almost in as bad a shape unless it's he's 30 now and he's just got role players around him or something, right? But he's nowhere near that right now. So the Mavericks have some time, maybe more than the national media wants to think about, because they're addicted to the right now. But
sure,
that to me is the lesser fear. It's just we'll just be garbage. That's my biggest fear, is we'll just be hot we could totally miss the playoffs again, because this was the year that we could have owned the West.
Sure.
I sent this via Twitter. I literally got back on Twitter just to tweet at you right after the season ended. So I don't want to be that guy respond to my Twitter or whatever. But I found something very interesting. But it's damning how close we came just by free throws alone. I wanted to look at the one thing that you could control for, and rebounds are fluid. Everything else is fluid, depends on game state. But anybody can make friggin' free throws. And Luka, I don't know what they need to do. Get a psychologist, get a free throw coach, get both. Get these guys, if we just had 80% free throw shooting, close to league average, a little above actually, I think 78%, we would have won 5 more games. We would have been second in the West before the Kyrie trade. It's I don't even know if we make that trade at that point.
Probably a lot of that, yeah. And I mean, a lot of that comes on to, honestly, Luka, and then whoever was second. And it's Luka shoots the most free throws. He has to get above the 74% he's at right now. He has to shoot 80. And
he absolutely has to. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if he gets to 80, or even right near 80, 78, 79%, close, very close. If he gets to that level, and then we get just a few more guys, just a little bit of help. He doesn't need to have a Phoenix Suns star-studded cast. Just a little, the fact that Dorian was as good as he was, I don't know. I'm kind of getting this all off because I haven't had a chance to vent in a while, but it's just like we have the guy, we have the golden ticket, we can make it all work. They just have to not be total fucking morons and keep shitting their pants every time they get the opportunity. And it's going to drive me crazy. So that's what my thing is, why I'm like horrified for this draft pick. Like I voted on the thing the other day, and I would like to keep the pick. I would like to have a young player that we can try and develop, that we don't have to pay the moon to, since we're already going to owe so much money on all these other players. But my biggest fear is that they use it, lump it up, and trade for somebody that, again, is just a distressed asset, and that they, again, like, don't communicate with Jason Kidd and he doesn't play somebody. Like, I don't even know who it could be, but like, that would be like the MO. So God willing, let's just get Wemby and take all the pressure off. I'm
right. Am I right? Let's get
Wemby, and that, you know, it's like I always say, I win the lottery. That's my retirement plan. That's where I'm at with this team.
David, thanks so much for joining us.
Mavs fans, love you guys. Thanks, Kurt.
All right, talk soon. Always love when people come back in here. All right, we're gonna do Chris. Chris, what's up? I got like 5 minutes, and I got one more guy waiting. So
I hopped on prematurely in my truck.
No, it's funny. I mean, it's like we're complaining about the fact that you were talking to me from your car. So, and realistic, and like, you know, it's what's the old. I know nobody likes him anymore, but I often think about Louis C.K. as like everything's amazing, but nobody's happy. Shtick. Yeah. It's like, you know, we're talking to each other on our phone video screens. Like it's 2024. What's going on? So what else were you thinking before you got kicked off?
So the Lakers are doing good right now. I think that bodes well for us, right? With their roster, why would they go after Kyrie now when they're about to probably make the Western Conference Finals? Is that, you think that's pretty much? And there's not really no other teams that really have cap space that could really want.
No, I mean, I think the only way something happens is where it's just like if they come together with Kyrie Irving and are like, you know, would you be interested in one of these other situations? We do a sign and trade, and the other that's kind of that's otherwise I do kind of think Kyrie stays a Maverick.
Yeah, at this point. I hope Kyrie stays a Maverick. I mean, of course, we want him to actually show up and play. He signs the contract and actually play the games and all, not act all weird or whatever. But the whole DeAndre Ayton thing, getting back at that, I have this feeling that we're gonna like get the 10th overall pick. We trade it to the Suns along with Bertans and Hardaway for DeAndre Ayton and Chris Paul. Is that a realistic scenario, you think? I
don't think anything's out of realism right now. I mean, I was checking in on Mark Stein's sort of he was having like a chat response thing on his Substack, and he said he doesn't really have a good feel for what happens with Chris Paul, but I do think that he said something along the lines of like maybe Ayton is possible. I didn't read too much into it. One of the Mavs film room guy asked him a question, but I was like, I always try to do like 3 things at once, which means I don't do anything well. And I was doing that while talking to David. I could have misread. So someone can go find it and tell me what's up. So yeah, I don't know. I don't want to say no, is the answer.
I mean, every time the playoffs happen, he strains his hamstring or groin.
Sure. Right, he's
old.
The
problem, obviously, with the Mavericks is that we don't need another point guard. We need some fucking defense. We need some rim protection.
Right.
Just rebounds and all. So that's all I have. We're all like just excited about Tuesday. Just at least to know that we keep the pick. We don't want to have to give anything back to the Knicks.
That's right.
So looking forward to that. I think the next. Oh yeah, I'll probably try to catch a Stars game soon because they're up 3-2 against the
playoff
Seattle.
Hockey. So playoff hockey is one of the best things on the planet.
Yeah, yeah. I've actually never been to a Stars game. I did live in D.C. like you have before. I've been to some Capitals games and all back in 03, 04. But yeah, and also next time I'll be up around Dallas area, we Metallica.
Ooh.
Yeah. They got like a 2-night event in Arlington. So
that's awesome.
Cowboy Stadium. So I'm looking forward to that. So, but I'll attend this live stream for the draft lottery.
Yeah, well, I'll have it posted probably by Monday afternoon. I got to figure out with Josh what time we actually want to start because I don't want to be like staring into the void while we're going. Yeah, like waiting for something to happen
on YouTube. So anytime you guys are doing this, I'll be ready to hop on with you guys, and I'm looking forward to it. So
all right, appreciate it, man. Talk soon. Yeah. All right, last but not least is my man Brian. You're gonna send us out of here, Brian. I got like 2 minutes. So what do you got?
I will try to fire away. Can you hear me okay, boss?
You sound great.
All right, fantastic. First off, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Can I finally get my Theo Penson takes off now?
Sure.
Okay, I don't know if anybody's brought this up, and I didn't see what your opinion on was this, and I'll try to get it real quick. So for those that didn't see it late last night, Theo Pinson decided to go on a podcast stream, and I guess he had Reggie Bullock jump on. And of course, they were laughing and clowning on Phoenix, like everyone should be, I guess, to a point. But I saw that, and that really bothered me. I'm trying to articulate and process why that bothered me, and I think it was a couple of things. Well, one, because there's a player that's like semi-important for the Dallas Mavericks right now, like clowning and laughing. And then of course we have a podcaster on the active roster, which is, a whole other problem.
Shout out to podcasting.
Shout out to podcasting. And I was looking and trying to process that. And I was like, okay, wait a minute. You two have not done anything in a month. Phoenix fell on their ass again, but they made the second round. You guys got your ass kicked by Charlotte twice. And couldn't even make the fucking play-in game. So
pretty brutal.
So, and I apologize for going 2-footed in on Theo. I should have went more on Reggie because we should have known the season that he was going to have and the Mavericks were going to be a disaster, because if anybody wants to go back and look at Reggie Bullock's tweets, he actually started the season 0-1 shooting before the season ever started.
Pretty rough deal there.
I mean, but am I being a grubby bastard for that bothering me? But
no, because like everything that Theo does is annoying at this point. Like he's not for me. The end.
Yes. Let me preface. I'm sure Theo Pinson, the person outside of basketball, is probably a nice person.
I would love to yell at Theo Pinson, and I would love to be like, "What is it you think you do here?" And he'd be like, "Well, I made it this far. Eat shit, Kirk." And I'd be like, "Yeah, okay, fair enough."
Yes, and I think that what he tries to be is what Cuban art, like the vibes comes out from the organization, and I think I hate him more for that, because he acts like a child, and then Cuban, of course, you're going to do whatever your elder does. So if Cuban's going to act like a big piss baby, they're going to be like, oh, we're going to act like children too. Like, it's just like, grow up a little bit. You know what I mean? Like,
sure, I do.
I don't know. It just really bothered the hell out of me. If that was Luka tweeting out or putting a story of looking at Booker, it's fine. He's got skin on the wall. You doofuses do not have anything on the wall.
I have a hard time because it's like I'm here making content on a Friday, so like I can't hate on the fact that they're doing the same shit as me. Outside of the fact that that's not their real. Well, this also isn't my real job. Yeah, I can't. I get why it annoys you. I have a hard time because otherwise I'd be being a hypocrite.
Yeah.
So,
but we'll get out, buddy. All right.
Thanks, man.
You.
Talk soon.
Happy birthday, man.
Yeah, appreciate it. Okay, we're gonna end on doing Tankathon. I've been meaning to do this every time, and I just keep forgetting because I forget. Let's go over to Tankathon. Share the screen. We got the lottery. Here's the Dallas Mavericks. Let's click Sim Lottery. Yeah, Mavericks stay at 10. That's interesting. Okay, this is a wild lottery. San Antonio first, Orlando second, Washington third, coming up from fifth. Portland moves up to 4. Detroit falls all the way down. So does Houston, Charlotte, Indiana. Anyway, all right, team. This has been a lot of fun. Thanks so much for hanging out with me on this Friday afternoon. Be sure to check your podcasts and download both, even if you aren't planning on listening, because that sort of thing helps me out. Also, be sure to listen to the ads. We will be live sometime on Tuesday before the lottery, where we will watch the lottery together, though I obviously won't be able to stream it because I don't have the rights, but that doesn't mean we can't react in real time. Be sure to tell your friends, subscribe, and like the show. That sort of stuff has been very helpful to us. We will talk with you guys soon, and go Mavs.